Okay. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon to all of you. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Fajar Hirawan, one of the faculty members at the Faculty of Economics and Business, Indonesian International Islamic University, or IIIU, or usually we call as Universitas Islam International Indonesia, or UIII. I'm honored to be the host and moderator for the first Economic Insight, or Econ Insight. Probably I want to let you know that Econ Insight is an academic discussion platform held by the Faculty of Economics and Business, IIIU, that allows thought leaders or thinkers and stakeholders, including faculty members and students at IIIU, to exchange their views, insight, ideas on the topic discussed. The Economic Insight will be held once within 2 months. In the form of current issue updates, general lectures, and also book discussions. And then for today, we are going to focus on the current issue updates, of course, talking about the Dubai Expo and its future impacts on Indonesian economy. Again, thank you for taking time to join us today. I hope that all of you are always in the good health, in the good shape, in the good form. And today we will talk about the current issues on Dubai Expo and its future impacts on Indonesian economy. Before we get started, I would like to give an opportunity to the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, IIIU, Professor Dian Masyita, to deliver her opening remark. Professor Dian Masyita, the screen and time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Bapak Fajar Hirawan. A great honor for me to have Bapak Ridwansyah Saidi Ungsi and Bapak Teguh Yudo Wicaksono in this program. All Econ Insight participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the universe. Prayers and peace be upon our Master, the Prophet Muhammad SAW. I want to extend a warm welcome to all of you who present here today to witness the first Econ Insight organized by Faculty of Economic and Business, IIIU. Thank you all for attending this program. Let me to introduce a little bit about Indonesian International Islamic University, or IIIU. In 2016, based on President Regulation Perpres number 57, Indonesia decided to build an international standard Islamic campus, namely Universitas Islam International Indonesia. The construction on this campus was inaugurated by President Joko Widodo on June 5th, 2018 in Cisalak, Sukmajaya, Depok, West Java. The IIIU campus is built on land area of 142.5 hectares, which a maximum of 30% of the land will be filled with buildings, while the other 70% are green open space to maintain the balance of nature. This park will function as a green space for the campus area and Depok City, and a recreation area for residents of IIIU and its surroundings. This campus was built to preserve and promote Islamic culture and civilization, including Muslim heritage in Indonesia. IIIU offers various academic programs, but in the first phase, the campus will open 4 graduate faculty and programs. In 2023 until 2024, IIIU will establish the more faculties such as Faculty of Science, Engineering, and other graduate programs in these fields. Currently, IIIU opened 4 faculties last year: Faculty of Economics and Business, Faculty of Islamic Studies, Faculty of Education, and Faculty of Social Science. The university also has various research centers with specific expertise to respond to strategic issues and the challenges related to Muslim society worldwide. For Faculty of Economic and Business, currently has already launched 1 center in 2021, Center of Excellence in Islamic Finance for SDGs, which has collaborated 3 institutions, IIIU, UNDP, and ISDB Institute. For information, the Faculty of Economic and Business offers studies and research in economics and business with particular topics in Islamic perspective and digital transformation. The faculty designed the curriculum for master's and Ph.D. programs to develop intellectual and professional skills as an outstanding manager, leader, and also academicians over a lifetime career. The master programs will give the graduate students advanced training for economics, banking, and finance within the real-world context and economic and business. And PhD programs are designed to fulfill the needs of combining rigorous academic theory with research in the real world to influence the economic and business policy and to make a unique contribution to society. Okay, today our theme for our first Econ Insight is Dubai Expo 2020. As we all know, Dubai Expo 2020 is the universal exhibition held in the United Arab Emirates from the 1st October 2020 to the 31st of March 2022. It was initially scheduled for 20th of October 2022 to April 10, 2021, but unfortunately, it was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite being delayed, organizer kept the name Expo 2020 for marketing and branding purposes. The Expo becomes the world showcase in which more than 180 participant countries, including Indonesia, present their best ideas, project, examples, the innovatives, models, intangible and intangible infrastructures, focusing on theme of the universal exhibition, and which Dubai Expo was connecting minds, creating future. And Expo also proposed 3 sub-themes, including opportunity, mobility, and sustainability. For opportunity means freeing the potential of individuals and communities to create a better future. For mobility means innovative logistic, transport, and communication system for people, goods, and ideas. And the last one, sustainability, means accessibility and resilience of environmental, energy, and water resources. So, congratulating and complimenting the first Econ Insight. Have a fruitful discussion. Thank you, Mas Fajar. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dian Masyita, for the opening remark. So I think now we will move on to the main dishes of today's event. So as the background, I would like to share a brief introductions regarding the topic that we will discuss today. And we know that currently the world we live in is still uncertain and unpredictable, especially during the COVID-19 outbreak. We are facing a multiple crisis at the same time, and the pandemic has put the world on hold and into the reset mode. Despite the challenges faced amid the pandemic, our country, Indonesia, still holds to its vision of becoming the world's 5th largest economic country in 2045. Across the archipelago, Indonesia continues to develop its multifaceted ecosystem, preparing the nation to play a pivotal role in the global economy through partnership opportunities in trade, investment, and tourism. Expo 2020 Dubai is being held from October 2021 to March 2022, hopefully could become an opportunity. And I believe that in this pandemic-riddled world, the theme Connecting Minds and Creating Future is expected to inspire people through sustainability, mobility, and opportunity. Indonesia, along with other countries, participates in the 6-month-long Expo 2020 Dubai and carrying the theme Creating the Future from Indonesia to the world. And I believe that Indonesia aims to strengthen the archipelago's potential in trade, investment, and tourism to the eyes of the world. In addition, Indonesian participation in the 2020 World Expo is expected to strengthen Indonesia-UAE bilateral relations And I believe that the UIII, as a member of the Gulf Cooperation Council, or GCC, is one of the non-traditional export markets that is a hub for international trade to the Middle East, Africa, and Europe market destination. Against that backdrop, the Faculty of Economics and Business, IIIU, intends to explore more about the future impacts of the Dubai Expo 2020 on the Indonesian economy. And now today we are so lucky to have Bapak Ridwan Ungsi, the Director of Indonesian Investment Promotion Center, or IIPC, Abu Dhabi, and also Bapak Teguh Yudo Wicaksono, the head of Mandiri Institute. So for the first speaker, I would like to give a chance to Bapak Ridwan Ungsi. And before, I would like to read his CV. So Bapak Ridwan Ungsi now is a director of IIPC Abu Dhabi. His education, he got Master of Science in International Political Economy from Rajaratnam School of International Studies, Nanyang Technological University in Singapore, graduated in 2012. Before joining the BKPM, or Investment Coordinating Board, Bapak Ridwan Ungsi started his career as a newspaper journalist. He joined BKPM, or now a Ministry of Investment, in 2008, and he began as a staff in Directorate of Sectoral Promotion, and then promoted as a section head of Sulawesi and Maluku region. His overseas experience started as Deputy Director of IIPC Sydney. So that's the first time I met Bapak Ridwan in Sydney when I did my study there, in facilitating agriculture and mining investment. And now, think back to Jakarta, he took a role as a head of media relation, and then joining in promotions team as the integrated promotion team for Middle East and Turkey. And now we are so happy, or we are so lucky to have Bapak Ridwan Ungsi to talk about what is the outcome of the Dubai Expo. So, I mean, like, what is the benefit that we can get from that Dubai Expo? And probably Bapak Ridwan Ungsi also can share what's going on there, and probably can share, do you think that it could benefit Indonesia, especially after the pandemic? Bapak Ridwan Ungsi, the screen and time is yours.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Prof. Dian Masyita, Dean of Faculty Economic and Business, IIIU, Islam International Indonesia University. Bapak Teguh Yudo Wicaksono, Head of Mandiri Institute, as the panelist. Bapak Fajar, Hirawan, Lecturer and Moderator of this event. All participants, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a great honor for me to share my views on Dubai World Expo and its impact to Indonesian economy. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Mohammad Ridwansyah Saidi Ungsi. You can call me Iwan. I'm the Director of Indonesian Investment Promotion Center Abu Dhabi. The working coverage for the IIPC Abu Dhabi is Middle East, South Asia, along with Africa. I would like to appreciate as well the Islam International Indonesian University for hosting this important forum. I have some slides that I want to share. Is the slide test come up?
We haven't seen it yet, Ridwan Ungsi, or probably Mas Manda could help. Mas Manda. Okay, I think it's started now. So, yeah. Yeah, we can. Please.
Yes, thank you. This is just to put the context of the Dubai Expo. As previously mentioned by Prof. Dian, Dubai Expo is held in Dubai, one of the most extravagant cities in the Middle East. We also know as the Manhattan of the Middle East. If for those who come to Dubai, they will not think this is as the Arabic world, because it's very modern and is very advanced in terms of the financial economy as along with the growth economy. The event is held for 6 months, from October 21 to the end of March 22. 192 countries participate in this event. Dubai located, the Dubai Expo located approximately 30 minutes drive from the Dubai downtown. So basically it lies between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. This is one way from the UAE government to build their outer city. So previously it's like only desert, but now we can see this as in the picture in the right. There is massive construction that has been built, and with the finish of the Dubai, they put this construction as the building to scale to Dubai. So SMEs and the startups, they could go and aim and bid their place in the location in the Dubai World Expo. Despite the postponed 12 months to COVID pandemic, the event successfully attended by 24 million visitors. This is the third compared to the largest World Expo still in Shanghai, with 73 million exhibitors. And the cost of construction reached $7 billion, but with estimated multiplier effect to boost around 33 billion of UAE economy and creating almost 50,000 jobs. The Indonesia Pavilion in Dubai World Expo, we built, I think, since 2019, because it's supposed to be launched on 2020, but due to the COVID pandemic, we have like a year delay. The theme is from Indonesia to the world, creating the future from Indonesia to the world. The aim, like the other World Expo, the aim is country branding. It's not like a trade exhibition, but or the which aim to sales or product sales, but the Dubai Expo mainly to present Indonesia as the country. We have like we call it like soft selling. It's not like we aim to ask the visitors to buy one of the products of Indonesian products, but we show and display how modern and Indonesia is progressing its development. In the Indonesia Pavilion, we have 5 main areas. First one is rolling exhibition, business lounge, theater room, indoor stage, and outer stage. We occupied 3,000 square meters with a 3-level building. We also promote 4 main clusters, the beauty scenery of the Indonesia destination for the tourism, and then also the richness of culinary, as well as the batik as our heritage and spice. This is one of the program from coordinating economic maritime and investment, spice up the world. So Indonesia, we have so many richness in spice, from clothes to other spices. This is what we want to show to the world. The event is all supported by 21 ministries, including Ministries of Investment, and also 7 provinces. Actually, the plan itself will aim to have larger participation from the regional province, but due to the COVID pandemic, some of the province withdrawing their participation in the Dubai World Expo. So this is just to show the ambience of the Indonesia Pavilion in Dubai World Expo. In the top right, we see Minister Lutfi showing the Dr. Tani, Minister of Foreign Trade in UAE. So each boxes of in the wall is the spices. The spices from the Indonesia, we put it in the wall when the visitor come to the rolling exhibition of the Indonesia. In the left picture, the top left picture, we see the 16 Indonesian kids that they proclaim to that Indonesia is a capable country, Indonesia is modern country in so many different language. The other 2 in the right and in the left, in the bottom one, in the right is the business forum, one of the event that took place in the business lounge. During this time is the Bapenas and BKPM that received one of investors in the business lounge in the level 2 of the Indonesia Pavilion. And the last one is the theater room, which later on visitor could see a short video about introduction to Indonesia and how massive and progress Indonesia. In terms of visitors, this is one of the KPI which been targeted by the Ministry of Trade. So the government of Indonesia targeted 2.5 million at the end of the Dubai Pavilion. The number of visitors is 2.7 million visitors. This is just figures that the output if in the Dubai Expo. So if Fajar previously mentioned the outcome, so this is at the first stage. The output is this 2.7 million people visiting Indonesia Pavilion, and then we continue doing and discussing some topics for 6 months. So each week we usually change the topics in relevant with the ministries or the region that are supporting those topics. We also have 200 cultural performance and fashion show. With that, we also held 193 business forum and other 15 side event outside the Indonesia Pavilion. This is include the visit of President Jokowi in Dubai 3 to 4 November, which resulting in 19 agreement exchange both by Indonesia and UAE companies. Around 650 SMA products is being displayed in the rolling exhibition. This is to show the how the Indonesia-UAE bilateral relation is getting stronger. Before the Dubai Expo event, the relationship are strong since the visit of Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed to received by President Jokowi in Bogor Palace at July 2019. But by having the Dubai Expo, we have momentum to strengthen the bilateral relationship between Indonesia and UIIPC. Most of the country leaders that came to Dubai, they only received by either Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, or they will receive by ruler Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. But President Jokowi visit to UAE, they receive. He is being received by both of Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. So MBZ and MBR. During the meeting with the leaders of the UAE, there are some negotiations that took place, and also the communication between both leaders, which include the COVID pandemic situation and how both countries could collaborate in coping the problems with the COVID pandemics. And also there are mangrove initiative which initiated by UAE government, which have been respond positively by Indonesian government to build more collaborative in terms of this mangrove, which has positive impact on the environment. The discussion also touched on the security of the region and the people-to-people contact. For instance, like the exchange of imam and the Indonesia sent nurse to UAE and this kind of program and initiative. During the visit as well, President extended invitation for MBZ to come to Bali in the G20 leaders meeting. And also the pledge from the UAE government, 10 billion to support the Indonesian sovereign wealth fund. The pledge itself done in March, but the Dubai Expo create a momentum to materialize the commitment that previously only informal, like mentioning verbally, but in the Dubai World Expo, the Indonesia Investment Authority signed 10 billion MOUs with the Abu Dhabi Growth Fund, which will cater the fund from the UAE to be put in the Indonesian projects. So one of the things of the Dubai World Expo, we see this as momentum. So most of the agreement or the cooperation that has been discussed, we see the Dubai World Expo as momentum, and every party's institution was trying to finalize and optimizing the momentum. So during the visit to Dubai on 4th of November, President also has opportunity to meet with 9 prominent companies from UAE, which interest to invest in Indonesia. They are in various sectors, namely seaports, renewable energy property, data center, artificial intelligence, agriculture, and aluminium. I will share in later slide the more details on this. And this is responded quite positively by President and all his cabinet. This is the data of the 19 agreement that has been signed and exchanged during the visit. 6 of it is the G2G cooperation, but the business is divided with these two categories: the FDI and business deal, and the sovereign wealth fund. The sovereign wealth fund reached $18 billion US. INA and one of the leading seaport in Dubai, 7.5 billion, and then INA with one of the sovereign wealth fund, as I mentioned earlier, $10 billion US, and INA with the oil and gas company, 500 million US dollars. And the green chart show the other companies that keen to invest in Indonesia in a foreign direct investment. There are 10, including business deals, and 1 companies from United States, but it's witnessed by the president because the signing ceremony took place at Dubai. This is the other achievement during the which not have been any value of it for the MOUs. For instance, like the sugar production, and then construction, agriculture sectors, distribution, retail, and SMEs. Along with that, aluminum industry as well. And the transaction is the potential order for the SMEs is $1.6 million US, and the purchase agreement of the gold jewelry from Indonesia around 180 million US. This is the conclusion of my presentation. So basically, the outcome will be the 2.7 million visitors.
Iwan, I think we couldn't hear your voice right now. Could you fix the
create to closer economic cooperation, boost investment through Indonesia UIII comprehensive economic.
Okay, so I think unfortunately there's like a internet connection issues, but I think we will go back to Bapak Iwan Ungsi to discuss further about the deals, or we can say that a business deal that become as a result from the Dubai World Expo. But before we move on to the next speaker, I would like to invite everyone to to raise your hand just in case you have a question, or you can put your questions. You can write it in the chat box, and after that I will facilitate the questions to be delivered to the panelists, or to the to the speakers. So now we can move on to Bapak Teguh Yudo Wicaksono. So we can have a like a second presentation first from Bapak Teguh Yudo Wicaksono. So before we give a chance to Bapak Teguh, so I would like to introduce him first. So Bapak Teguh Wicaksono basically now is head of the Mandiri Institute. He got his bachelor degree in Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, and he got his master degree in economics at the University of Sydney. And then, like he continued his study in the University of Kentucky at the US, studying economics as well. Bapak Teguh will discuss further about the current Indonesian economy, the current Indonesian development in Indonesian economy, as well as, trying to figure it out whether this Dubai Expo really have a good impact to our Indonesian economy and probably can give some insight about what happens going on in our economy, especially in terms of trade and investment. Bapak Teguh Yudo, the screen and time is yours.
Terima kasih, thank you Pak Fajar. Yang saya hormati Prof. Dian, Pak Iwan Ungsi, Direktur dari BKPM untuk Dubai, dan friends from I3U and students. Thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be invited in this forum, and let me share a few things from my slide. So yeah, thank you. I think before we discuss about Indonesia economic situation, probably it might be useful to see what's going on, particularly if we look at on the current global economic update. So let me begin our discussion with potential global risk that might have some serious impacts on our economy. And as Pak Fajar already mentioned about this COVID, and I think we agree that COVID-19 has been among one of the worst public health crises in our lifetime. And if you remember in 2021, when finally we found a vaccine, and then vaccination rates are quite faster, we hope that, or even we thought that the 2022 will be the end of this pandemic. We think that this year will be the solid year for economic recovery at the global and also in Indonesia. But as the year comes to us, we see there are so many multiple risks, and I feel that there are so much downside risks related with, and that might affect our economy. First, if we look at on the vaccination rates and we compare between developed countries and developing countries, we see that vaccination has been very slow in developing countries and also in less developed countries. This is different picture from developed countries, which is vaccination rate is much faster. So the issue here, I think it's really hard to establish sort of herd immunity and really recover from the pandemic without the massive vaccination. And if you remember, at the same time, early in this year, we faced sort of the new variant of COVID, Omicron, although I think in the last couple of weeks, we see that the COVID might subside. So it means that probably we are now in a better position in managing this infection. But again, our knowledge about this virus is still far from complete. So we do not know yet about whether there will be like more dangerous variant about this COVID. So I think that's one risk that we still face in the future. Now, the second issue is the long-lasting impact of COVID. So we know that almost in the last 2 years, almost all countries, I think, impose mobility restriction, right? Social restriction, and even this kind of policy has been imposed almost all countries. So I think this is the largest restriction at the global scale, and it might have impact because pretty much that we try to stop the economic activities. And as a result, I think many people lost their jobs. Many decided to quit from the labor market permanently, and this might have long-term impact on the economic growth and productivity. And on top of that, because of these restrictions at the global level, we have seen kind of the supply chain problems. Restriction, lockdowns, and border closure disrupt production, transportation, and also demand. And the pandemic, I think the silver lining of the pandemic, I should say that it showed us the weakness of our transport and logistic hub. And we have struggled, even today, we still struggle to cope with this disruption. So we end up with supply disruption, and at the end of the day, then we come up with this inflationary pressure. This is exactly what we have observed in developing country, in developed countries. So, for instance, like in the US, the UK, Europe, we see actually these countries recover relatively quickly, but unfortunately, as demand grow, I think due to this supply disruption, supply cannot adjust quickly, and as a result, I think in couple months we have seen kind of a historic level of inflation in the US and UK. This is the story that Indonesia experienced actually during New Order or after the economic crisis, but now it happened in the developed countries. For instance, like in the US last month, US experienced inflation rate at 8.5%. This is 4 decades. It happened in the last 4 decades. So it was unimaginable that these developed countries experience very high inflation. Another issue I think that contribute as well to this inflationary pressure is huge fiscal stimulus. So I think, for instance, like in the US, the government allocate around like 27% of its GDP, or around 1.9 trillion for fiscal stimulus to mitigate the impact of COVID. And because of this stimulus is so large, I think it might push the economy, and this is exactly what we observe these days, moving beyond its potential GDP, and economy is going overheat, and this creates pressures on prices. This is exactly what we observe in the last couple of months. Another issue, and I think this is also very familiar with us, is the geopolitical tension between Russia and Ukraine, and I think the war between Russia and Ukraine has been the worst conflict after the Second World War. And of course, beyond humanity, cause of the war, economically, these two countries are major exporters. So these two countries are big players in wheat, fertilizer, and energy like oil and gas. So we can imagine that the conflict involving these two countries will have global impacts, and this might have impact on Indonesia economy as well. And the last one, I think one important risk is climate-related risk that we very often fail to address this issue. So what is the future? What is the global outlook look like? Let's say if we think of 2022 and 2023. So I think with the current situation, the picture is a bit grim, yeah. So in general, if we look back to 2021, we see a solid economic recoveries across all major countries, both in developed and developing countries. And then and this is kind of the typical, usually when the economy contracted, then the recovery will be followed by a jump in the economic growth, because basically we start with the lower base. So economy contracted, and then once recovery begin, then the economy jump quite significantly. But the thing is, if we compare the current crisis with previous crisis, when the economy start to normalize, the slowdown, the economic growth slowdown after the COVID, I think is much steeper than the previous two crises. This is related to what I discussed previously about this long-term impact, weaker long-term and medium-term growth, and also scarring effect that might contribute to this slowdown. Now, another major issue is uneven economic recovery. So in one side, we observe that developed countries, the US, the UK, European countries already returned to the pre-pandemic level. Their output already returned to the pandemic level. Meanwhile, developing countries and less developed countries, they are still lag behind. And I think this is also a serious issue if we think that one of the biggest achievements of the globalization in the last 3 decades is reducing inequality across countries. Now, because of this COVID, it's sort of a setback, and there's still many homeworks to close the gap. So I think some factors, of course, can be mentioned here that contribute to this gap between developed and developing countries. First, of course, about this COVID variant, and then uneven in terms of vaccination rates, rising inflation and inflationary expectation, and again, supply chain disruption and scaring in human capital. So basically, when many people are out of work, they lose human capital, and it's really hard to return to the pre-pandemic level. So I think this is what we observed recently about two-track recovery between emerging markets and developing countries. Now, let me talk about the thing related with inflationary pressure, particularly in the US, because the US is the biggest economy in the world. So because of rapid recovery combined with supply chain disruption, and to a certain extent that we discussed about large fiscal stimulus, have lifted prices in the largest economy in the US. So this is last month we saw that inflation rate in the US is 8.5%, which was the same as the 41 years ago. And because of this inflation, very high inflation, then the Federal Reserve, the US Central Bank, we expect that they will move aggressively. So basically, the right-hand chart is the Fed officials think about the Fed rate, like in Indonesia is like BI rate in 2023, in 2024, and so on. So we from this chart we see that by 2023 the Fed rate will be above the natural interest rate of the US economy, which is 2.5%. So because the Fed rate will move aggressively, and we expect in the next few months, then this will have impact or ramification to developing countries. You know, like higher Fed rate in the US will trigger capital outflow in emerging markets, and this could worsen balance of payment in these countries, particularly countries with very high debt services or debt to GDP ratio, and they will struggle to pay their debts. So there is a concern about a massive defaults in these countries, and I think this is also another theme of the IMF World Bank meeting in their spring meeting. So let me move further about this the geopolitical tension, that the impact we can see here because of the war. We observe commodity prices have jumped significantly. So for instance, oil prices increased 42% year to date until last month, and then even reached 128 USD per barrel. CPU and coal prices also increased by 41% and 100% respectively. And commodity prices, I think, will more speed up the rate of inflation in globally, but also in the developed countries. Although I must say that I think Indonesia has been one among few countries that actually benefit from rising commodity prices. And if we look at on the table here on the right-hand side, we see that the inflation rate is in Indonesia is relatively low compared to other countries. So far we have managed the inflation in Indonesia, but again, there is some potential risk that second order impact from these rising commodity prices. Now, this is what we observe in Indonesia. So due to the global due to the increase in commodity prices, the producer will bear the input cost. So we see here on the left-hand chart, this reveal about consumer price index with a black color, and then producer price index with a gray color. So we see here that the gap between producer and consumer price index. What does it mean? So it means that producers so far, they bear the cost of higher input costs because of these commodity prices increase. But at the end of the day, the next question will be like how long they can keep or they bear this increase in prices, because we might expect that they will pass through rising costs to the consumers, and we might observe an increase in CPI in the next few months. And also, if we think about the government response related to the high oil price, I think there will be some adjustment to fuel prices. Then we already did in Pertamax. This is not subsidized fuel, but the next fuel will be Pertalite. That's also on the basket that the government will plan to increase, to adjust, and this might have impact on CPI as well. I think that's all the risks that we might face, and this might have some impacts on Indonesia economy. But then if we look at on those risks and we compare to 2013, when we experienced taper tantrum because the Fed ended up what so-called as quantitative easing. Basically, the Fed start to roll off the purchase of assets in the US. At the time, it had really significant impact to emerging markets, including Indonesia. So what if we compare today to 2013, I think Indonesia is in better position. First, we have a better position on current account balance. Indonesia export surprisingly remained strong last month. Fiscal deficit this year is larger than 2013, but again, other countries also have large deficit, mainly because they use the fiscal tools to mitigate the impact of COVID. Debt to GDP ratio Indonesia also high, but again, if we compare with other countries, we are in better position. And foreign exchange reserve is also strong, and inflation is relatively low so far. So I think the impact of the Fed rate to the domestic Indonesia, I think it's quite manageable. Now, if we think Indonesia economy in terms of GDP, I think the Indonesia economy is on the recovery track, and we expect that the growth will accelerate this year. And if we observe the fourth quarter of 2021, actually the economy is already on the recovery track. So we see here that the economic growth by 5.02%. And also we already learned about how to manage COVID. So I think we have better control of COVID pandemic. We also have widespread of vaccination. From the latest data, we have like 93% of population already received the first dose, and 73% already received a second dose. And also, if we add with these commodity prices, Indonesia also benefit from rising commodity prices to a certain extent. For instance, because we export CPO, coal, and also other commodities. And to sum up with the impact of Russian and Ukraine war, I think the impact is relatively limited to Indonesia. I think up to now. So if we dig deep into the household spending, I think good news from recent weeks is we see that household spending already reached pre-pandemic level. So this chart is about Mandiri spending index. We track household spending, individual spending through a debit card, so we can monitor week by week, and we see here, for instance, like the value and the frequency of spending already returned to the pre-pandemic level. So I think those are good news about Indonesia recovery. And to sum up is we already on the recovery path, and there are some pressures, of course, and it might affect our recovery. Mainly on the global situations, both on the inflationary pressure, the global level, and also the geopolitical tension. Now, let me discuss a bit about the Dubai Expo. I think Pak Ungsi already mentioned clearly about Dubai Expo, and correct me, Pak Ungsi, if I'm mistaken. So from what I learned, that Indonesia received like 34.8 USD in terms of trade and investment agreement. I think this is really good news, and there are so many agreements. If we look at here, there are several streams like investment cooperation agreements, business matching, and business forum. And as well, I think the last one is very important. Pangsi already mentioned about support for Indonesia SMEs, because I think this kind of venue provides strategic venue for Indonesia, particularly in providing greater global market access for SMEs. And of course, the last one, I think, and also this is part of Dubai Expo theme, is tapping sustainability linked investment. And when we talk about SMEs, I think one of the strongest area of Indonesia SME is its creative industry, and I'm so glad that Pak Iwan already mentioned about this. Indonesia Pavilion bring some creative SMEs players to the Expo, because if we look at, and this is data from 2016, I need to update this. Our creative industry actually contributed very significant to our GDP. So the value of creative economy in Indonesia is around 68.8 billion US dollar, or this is equal to 7.4% of GDP. Now, if we compare with other countries, Indonesia creative economy in terms of size was ranked in the third place after the United States and South Korea. So this is kind of showing the significance of the creative industry in Indonesia. And also the government already designed six big missions for the creative economy. So now, how about investment? I think this is also opportunity to use like event like Dubai Expo to tap, I think, investment opportunities from changing global value chains in the post-COVID area. So if we look at the current issues about investment, I think there are two major themes emerge in the current discussion. First is about supply chain resilience, and the second one is about sustainability. On resilience and supply chain resilience, we see that the businesses basically start thinking about restructuring their international production networks through reshoring, regionalization, or diversification. So basically, like for instance, with persistent lockdowns in China because their zero COVID policy, businesses or corporates in the US plan to move their factories back to the US, or perhaps they build new one in Southeast Asia region, like Indonesia, Vietnam, and Malaysia. And I think this is kind of the opportunities that we need to tap in and bring those investment in to Indonesia. The second one is on sustainability. I think we have observed in the past few years, particularly in 2020, there are growing concern among investors about environment and also about sustainability issues. And even the fund industry has been rapidly bringing sustainability theme investment through funds. And these funds are really dedicated to sustainability theme. I think this is kind of welcoming trend, and Indonesia have a lot of potentials to bring investment in related to sustainability. So this is the fact about why we need to reconsider networks and how Indonesia can tap opportunities related with the new rearrangement about this supply chain. So supply chain problems in 2021, last year we experienced the China port shutdown. Another big problem, if you remember, the giant ship in the Suez stuck, and it cost billion to the global trade. And we still experience today. I think this news is coming a few days ago because of China zero COVID policy, China lockdowns, and then this we still experience supply chain problem. And I think this is kind of the opportunities in the sense that probably Indonesia can be another hub to be like to be the center of the new emerging of supply chain or international production networks. Now, what sort of industry that we might observe changing or restructuring? So there are four critical industry that we think will experience new supply chains, for instance, like textile and apparel, machinery, electronics, and automotive. So if you look at on the contribution of this sector, there are about 20% of greenfield investment in these industries, but if we consider only manufacturing, it covers like 50% of the output of this coming from this industry. And in Indonesia, these sectors also play a larger role in international production and development. And also Indonesia is a country with comparative advantage in this sector, for instance, like textile and apparel. And also this is also where the creative industry, the size of creative industry in the textile is huge, and also electronics and automotive. So perhaps probably we can leverage Dubai Expo or similar events to attract investment in this sector coming to Indonesia. Now, on the issue of sustainability, I think in the past 5 years, we have seen the increasing trend of sustainability related investment. And in 2020 alone, sustainable funds have jumped, including mutual funds and exchange traded funds that integrated sustainability and impacts or environment, or in the general terms about ESG investment. So I think this is very exciting. I think opportunities for Indonesia to tap in. And if we compare the last year data about sustainable related project, I think the growth is quite promising. For instance, the value of investment in SGD sector increased by 55%, and the number of SDG relevant investment projects, so in terms of the number, increased by 11%. And I think Indonesia should be part of this movement as well. Now, related with the SDG investment, I think Indonesia has a lot of potential to offer. So these charts represent about SDG financing distribution and also SDG financing gap. So if we look at on this FDG financing, if we move to moderate or high ambitious to achieve SDGs, then the gap will be larger. And I think this gap should be filled by private investment. I think we need to collaborate both the government and the private sectors to bring investment related to SDG. So to sum up, I think it's really exciting to have like Dubai Expo. Again, Dubai Expo will be like strategic venue to promote Indonesia SMEs, but at the same time, I think it's also a strategic venue to attract investment, particularly when we talk about sustainable investment, and we really need this kind of investment, particularly on the renewable energy. I think that's all for me, Pak Fajar. I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Yudo, for the explanations. I think now we already get an insight from you, and I think some of us probably already feel that it seems that we have to optimize, in terms of our Indonesian economic recovery. And I believe that you mentioned that hopefully the current commodity price boom will not become the commodity curse for us, because it happens, I think, in 2010, 2011 at that time. And then I believe that you mentioned that, I think, in terms of the investment, I think we should focus on two main issues or main sectors that related to the supply chain resilience and also sustainability. So I think it's very comprehensive discussion for today. And again, please feel free to drop questions, or you may also raise your hand just in case you want to ask questions to the panelists. So I saw hands. So now I will give a first chance to Pak Lutfi as our head of the MA program in economics. Pak Lutfi, screen and time is yours.
Thank you, Pak Fajar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to congratulate first to Pak Fajar for coordinating this event, and of course for all the students who support this event. Hopefully this will running well for the next regular event. Respected speaker, my first question will be posed to Pak Iwan Ungsi. Pak Iwan, as you suggest, I just a little bit wonder about the attendees in our pavilion in Dubai. In your slide, it is suggested that almost 2.7 million attendees coming to our pavilion. It's a really great number actually. But if we compare to the total number who visited Dubai, which was 24 million, I think it's almost around only 11%. So my question is, why only 11% coming to our pavilion? Is this actually a good number if we compare to other countries? Probably you can explain this, because I believe if many people coming to our pavilion, probably the business deal that we achieve will greater than 27 billion that we already have. This is my first question. And then the next question, if we coming to the business deal that it reached around 27 billion, it seems that most business dealing will attract big companies. My question here is, so where is located for the SME role here? Could you explain to us, did our SMEs here from Indonesia also have a big role in this big event in Dubai? And lastly, the next question for my colleague, Dr. Yudo. Thank you for a very insightful presentation. I just have a small question regarding your explanation in terms of the Ukraine and Russian war. The impact for this war, as you suggest, is quite limited and can be manageable. My question is, as we aware that Indonesia is the largest importer in terms of wheat from Ukraine. And we also largest producer in noodle industry. So do you think that for the coming month, our industry, particularly in noodle industry, will be affected as impacted by this war? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pak Lutfi, for the questions. I think we can give a chance to Pak Iwan and Pak Yudo to answer the question first, because I'm afraid that if I give a chance to another person or participant to ask, I'm afraid that you might forget about the question. So I think the question for Pak Iwan from Pak Lutfi, it's about the attendees, especially talking about the statistical, the descriptive statistic, that is only 10 or to 11% from the total attendees. So you might probably explain to us what's going on there, because I believe that you were there. And number two is about the role of SMEs in this case. So I mean, what are the role of the SMEs in this, Dubai Expo, especially in the Indonesia Pavilion? Pak Iwan, please.
Thank you, Pak Fajar, Pak Lutfi, for the question. With regards to the number, the attendees number, yes, indeed, is a good number in terms of 2.5. I understand that percentage-wise is only 11%, but if you look at the full chart of mine, we could see that we even exceed China Pavilion, which only around 1.8 million visitors. So in terms of this, Saudi is quite exceptional, because they spend 10 times budget for constructing the pavilion. So if we see the Saudi Pavilion, most of the visitors will want to see their pavilion, but there's a queue. So Dubai Expo, imagining Dubai Expo is like if in Jakarta it's like PRJ, but it's in the world scale. So the visitors is come from different and various segments, from family, kids, and all these, not only the business wise. So in that reason, the country branding, as I mentioned earlier, is play important role here, rather than hard selling in having a direct transaction if people buy and sell on those premise. This is the argumentation for the number of attendees, and we achieved the target. So the government is targeted 2.5 million, and we exceed by 200,000 visitors. Actually, 24 million, it could be more if not COVID I think affected the event itself. So this is for the number of attendees. In terms of SMEs, the SMEs plays a very important role, because most of the institution, along with the regional province, they have this one rolling exhibition that could has display for the products of the SMEs. For the I understand that in terms of the business deals, it's not like happen in the directly in terms of this, and some of them for the visitors, they see, and later on they contact and we also arrange some of the business transaction between the SMEs for instance, like Telkom itself, state-owned enterprise, they arrange some startups to come to Dubai, and then they meet with some venture capitals here. But with investment, everything is not like happen through a short period of time. So there are some stages that this is to introduce, and then we will follow up. I haven't had the chance to conclude my presentation, but the most important things for these commitments that have been achieved by in Dubai World Expo, we need to materialize and make it the investment realization, because our target this year for the investment realization is 1,200 trillion. So exceed increase 33% from the previous year. This is very ambitious target, given that the explanation from the later panelist, Yudo, we have so many challenges that, and this is one of the, I would like to also touch on the regarding the Ukraine war and Russia. The renewable energy, Masdar, one of the companies, UAE companies that trying to invest in Indonesia. They build the solar power in floating solar panel in Jakarta, 145 megawatts, and other projects along the way with Pertamina in Blok Rokan, and on the Batam with Indonesia Power. But now they facing difficulties because the current projects, they already hedged their, for instance, like floater, the floaters need the plastics, the commodity, the price of the plastics is increasing very rapidly. So they facing difficulties in executing later projects. But the current projects, they could do this very well, because they already hedged the cost and commodity that they need to build the solar plant. I think that's from me, Pak Fajar. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Iwan. And now I move on to Pak Yudo. I think the question is about, again, the same, the impact of the geopolitical tensions between Russia and Ukraine. I think it's about wheat and also the wheat supply, and as well as, do you think that it might impact the noodle industry? Because for those who like Indomie, or I forgot, I mentioned the brand, but anyway, any noodles, especially for students, I think they like noodles very much. Do you think that it might impact the noodles price in the future? Please, Pak Yudo.
Thank you, Pak Lutfi, for interesting question. And that's right. I mean, noodle is among Indonesia products. It's the brand is so strong, even like in other countries, like in Africa and in Middle East. I think that's yes, that's true, Pak Lutfi, that we import from Ukraine mostly wheat. That's the top products, and I think this sector is particularly this food sector, food manufacturing, like that's the company that Pak Fajar mentioned, is largely affected. The thing is, so far, I think perhaps they still manage, in the sense, if we look at on this increase in the price, the producer price compared to the consumer price, it actually show that the companies still bear the cost. So this is really unanticipated, and it might affect the food industry in Indonesia, particularly noodle processing manufacturing. But in the sense of the large economy, I think we are a bit isolated so far. My concern is, if the war continues for really for very long, more than 6 months, I think it affects food security at the global level, because wheat Indonesia, I mean, wheat is not main staple in Indonesia, but in other countries like particularly Europe, Middle East, and some African countries, wheat is the main staple, and then they import a lot of wheat from Ukraine and Russia. So the impact will be at the global level, and it might transfer to Indonesia or East Asia countries through the substitution of the consumption, the main staple. We consume rice, but at the end of the day, if it's so high, then they must shift to rice, and then we will struggle to secure the food, because we might fight with other countries. I think that's the concern if we think that the war will last longer. The second one is, I think the second round impact coming from fertilizer, because we import a lot of fertilizer from Ukraine and Russia, and it might affect also on the agriculture productivity in Indonesia. But so far, I think the impact is still limited. Probably I should revise my statement. I mean, if the war goes beyond 6 months, then I think Indonesia will be affected as well.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Yudo, for the response. So now we have another 3 participants to ask, and we only have 10 minutes left. So I hope that the last 3 participants here could ask the questions briefly to the panelists. So I will give a chance to Ismail, Sunny, and after that Milha, and also we have Olga later on. So please, Sunny.
Okay, am I audible, sir? Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, very clear, Sunny, please.
Okay, so I'd like to give a question to Mr. Yudo. Are there particular schemes of network structuring and private investment proposals that are effective enough to counter fiscal deficits that you mentioned in your slide before? It's like below or a minus 2.3. And do you think putting high exposure on textile and apparel would be, in the current time, would be the most strategic steps to take for that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sunny, and then Milha. Please, Milha.
Okay, thank you, sir. As far as I know, Dubai and Indonesia have signed 16 cooperation contracts in 2020. More importantly, the cooperation between the government to government, or G2G, one of which is the Indonesia Ministry of Religion concerning the endowment. How is the cooperation scheme and the development of endowment cooperation to date, especially during times of crisis pandemic? And how will it considerably influence overall trend in Indonesia investment? This question, I don't specify which presenter wants to answer. Please, Mr. Ungsi or Mr. Yudo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, please, Olga, I think you can ask your questions briefly, please.
Okay, this question is, I refer to Pak Yudo. My question is how to overcome maybe the next crisis. As you mentioned that the human capital crisis, it might be affect the labor market in Indonesia and also in the world. So how government and private sector should do in the next to mitigate the next crisis maybe. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think it's a very clear, yeah, Pak Yudo and Pak Iwan. I think the question is mainly about, well, in the context of the economic recovery, and I believe that in the context of the restructurizations that you mentioned, Pak Yudo, and also, of course, we are always facing uncertainty, unpredictable events, what happens in the future. So probably Pak Yudo could give us some, I don't know, some risk management, insight in order to, make sure that we will not facing the same crisis in the future. Please, Pak Yudo.
Thank you, Mas Fajar. So very interesting questions. I will answer from Suni related with the restructuring, and also I think if I'm not mistaken, the second question is about the tax or fiscal, so some sort of fiscal deficit. Yeah. So on restructuring, I think this is the consequences because first about this COVID, we see how lockdowns are imposed at the global level. China is the global manufacturer. So if China keep their zero COVID policy by doing lockdowns in their cities, then it might harm for businesses in the US or in major developed countries. So I think it's natural for them to think that they want to remove either move back to their countries or they keep to the region countries like Vietnam or Indonesia. But the big question is, are we competitive enough compared to China? And I think if we look at on the trend in the last few years, I think Pak Iwan Ungsi institution has done a lot of like a breakthrough in in attracting investment. And for instance, today I think Pak Bahlil Lahadalia, Minister of Investment, said that Indonesia already achieved the target in the first quarter. Congratulations, Pak Iwan, for the hard work. I think it's really good news, and I think this is part of showing that Indonesia actually is quite competitive when it comes about the restructuring. But again, we should maintain to manage this kind of the investment climate through the better regulations. And on regard about the tax and fiscal deficits, I think this is the major theme in this year and the next year, that the government will consolidate fiscal. They start about exiting the current policy and reducing some sort of the government spending. But again, I think they will move into the balancing between the current situations, given the risk. I think almost all of us didn't anticipate in 2021 that this geopolitical tension will push the commodity prices. So I think part of this fiscal consolidation, the government already undertake kind of the tax reform, for instance, like tax disclosure policy, basically sort of the tax amnesty, the second tax amnesty to attract more revenue. They also increase the tariff for VAT, value added taxes, from 10% to 11%, because many countries actually have higher rates than Indonesia. So I think that's also a good move to collect more revenue and also increase tax base. And another one actually that is less mentioned publicly, Indonesia Tax Authority is now undertaking like administration tax reform through the core tax. So they revamp the tax system to minimize loopholes and also to increase the tax revenue. I think that's from the revenue side. And on the spending side, I think the government still on the track of selecting spending, although I think the last one, because of this adjustment of fuel, I think the government will spend through the cash transfer, because that's part of the I think tool to push the economy. And in the next few years, I think until 2024, I think we still balancing of this risk and also at the same time on the fiscal consolidation. But if we see the target of the government, I think they try to achieve back to the fiscal deficit at 3% in 2023. I think that's part of the commitment. And I think I'll answer all the questions about overcoming scarring effect. Yes, I think this is unfortunately might have medium to long term. and we need to address, particularly from the fiscal aspect, fiscal toolkits, for instance, spending for improving human capital. And also this is what in developed countries do. For instance, like in Biden administration, they release kind of the infrastructure, better build America, if I'm not mistaken, the theme of their I mean this infrastructure spending. And I think Indonesia should follow the same thing. And I also I think for this year about the investment in human capital is part of the core policy of President Jokowi. I think that's my answer. I know that this is really unfortunate that we might bring this carrying effect into the medium term, but hopefully with the right policy mix, I think we can address this issue. Thank you. I hope that this answers questions.
Thank you, Pak Yudo. And I think I give a last chance to Pak Iwan, just in case you want to respond, especially like in terms of how to attract more and more investment to Indonesia, like due to a global situations that tends to be dynamics, like like what happens in China, the zero COVID policy that might make the investors to find an alternative to relocate their investment. So Pak Iwan, I think before we close the session, do you have any like I don't know, like some insight or ideas or some like perspective on how to attract more investors to come to Indonesia, to like in the context of economic recovery, and also how to like make economic resilience in Indonesia? Please, Pak Iwan.
Thank you, Pak Fajar. First of all, I think I will respond the question from Milhatun, which goes back to the MOUs on the cooperation between Indonesia and UAE during President Jokowi visit in 2020. Yes, it's correct. We signed some agreement. There are 3 cooperation that's still being and on the track record, that's so the on the good trajectory, the cooperation in the seaport, 1.2 billion from DP World and Maspion. Along with it, the Masdar, as I mentioned earlier, the Cirata projects, and the second one is the Pertamina and ADNOC LPG agreement, which involving the trade, the supply from the ADNOC to Pertamina. So with this, actually, the bilateral relation between Indonesia and UAE is a good modality for attracting more investment from UAE. We understand in terms of investment-wise and the capability, we have like 3 major sovereign wealth fund here. We have ADIA, the 3rd in the world, which managed to manage around 870 million fund. Along with that, we also have Mubadal Investment Company and Investment Corporation Dubai, which also in the top 20 of the sovereign wealth fund in the world. So in terms of the capacity and the capability as investors, they have the money in terms of the, but in terms of how they want to invest in Indonesia, this is the other aspect or component, because during my 2 years time here, I understand that there are some characteristics that they tend to invest in the brownfield investment rather than greenfield. So they will not build from scratch. They tend to, as equity investors, quite different and characteristic with the our investors, our traditional investors, which come from East Asia, for instance, like Japan, China, and Korea, in terms of how we could to respond on Fajar's question on how we could attract more and more investment, as Pak Bahlil previously mentioned. It is true that Pak Yudo mentioned that with the growing concern of the China, we already seen this on the earlier time of COVID, which BKPM and Ministry of Investment has to Indonesia from US, from China, from other part of the world, which they previously wants to have a better exposure on having the their production and supply chain still running despite the constraint that happened during the COVID. We have the competitive advantage in Indonesia. We have the market, 270 million people. But we also have not only the market, we also have the most natural resources for the electric vehicle. Battery of the electric vehicle is mangan, nickel, lithium, and aluminium. So we have three of it in Indonesia. So this is what Pak Luhut, coordinating minister, have communication with Elon Musk. This is what how it's going to be Elon Musk, whether because previous news say that he cancel invest in Indonesia, but in later stage there are some ongoing discussion. So Indonesia will be a great country if we could manage our natural resources as well as the human resources, as previously. I think I will close that, Fajar. I think we have the potential. Along with that, we have a demographic dividends by 40% younger generation. This is will be our good modality to attract more investment to Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Iwan, for the response. So again, thank you very much. So if I may to conclude the sessions, I think it's a good start, for our first economic insight. So I think I saw there's before it's more than 40 participants join this session, this webinar. And I think if I may to conclude that, I think we are very, what I can say, we are very optimistic that at least we could recover from the COVID-19, and we do hope that the geopolitical tension and other global issues that might impact Indonesian economy could be anticipated by Indonesian government. And on in the perspective of investment, I think like what Pak Iwan said, that we are trying to promote more, sustainable related investment. I believe that we are trying to build what's so-called as the EV ecosystem, the electric vehicle ecosystem here in Indonesia. And I do believe that recently that that there's a lot of coverage that Minister Luhut met Elon Musk, in the US. So I think hopefully, it's become it would become a good start as well, as the Indonesia trying to become a countries that have a big influence and could become a 5th largest economy in the world. So again, thank you, Pak Iwan Ungsi. Thank you for joining this event from far away from Abu Dhabi. Please say hello to all Indonesian colleagues there in Abu Dhabi. And thank you, Pak Yudo Wicaksono, who already share your time and share your insight in this economic insight. So thank you in general. I would like to say thank you to all participants. Thank you for all staff that focusing on this event, and of course thank you to the Economic Student Association of the FEB Triple IU, who also helping us in making this event come true. So again, thank you very much. So please stay healthy, and then see you again soon in the future, in the next 2 months, and see you again. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Iwan. Thank you, Pak Yudo.